Welcome to Disconnected. Please like, subscribe, and don't forget to comment down below. So when I first heard and saw about Jordan Peterson, I guess I was as smitten as everybody else was. This handsome, charismatic man speaking so eloquently, all these clever things. And it's just weird because it didn't take me long to just go, come on, dude, right? I think it had a lot to do with the fact, like, over the time that the more and more you saw him, the more he was complaining rather than educating. The more he was crying. I mean, how many times has he been crying lately? like this man who promotes masculinity and all these things is constantly crying like a baby on screen. Which I just find, that's kind of when I went, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Why is he still relevant? I mean, if he knows so much, then maybe he should, use all his intellectual knowledge to sort his own problems. Anyway, I have got 5 reasons why you should not listen to Jordan Peterson. Let's start. At least from my perception, and I'm happy to be proven wrong with any sort of detailed statistics, but it seemed very much that the same kind of folk that listened to Jordan Peterson also followed the ramblings of the likes of Andrew Tate, and was usually quite a bit of like a right-wing audience. That is already an issue for me, obviously, personally. Second reason, Jordan Peterson bamboozles you with fancy words, which gives the impression he's extremely smart. So from what I can tell, he's definitely highly educated and experienced, but in the context of a very complex field like psychology, most of these things are basically theories or up-to-date theories, as a lot cannot be proven scientifically. These are, they're deductions of studies, and the whole problem of perceived causation and correlation comes into play. Because this is about psychology, this is not about something that you can repeatedly test. This is not like something physical. This is it's scientific. This is about psychological matters and people's feelings and all this sort of stuff. There is no specific truth. There is constant reevaluation and study. So whatever he says is most likely wrong, as so many things are when it comes in this field. Not because he's wrong, but because the kind of learned knowledge about certain fields are always evolving. So what comes out in 5 years' time will be different from today, and you can argue that today was wrong and yesterday was wrong, and we never get to necessarily the absolute truth. We're always just evolving that truth or getting closer to the truth. That is a known thing when it comes to certain subjects. What I've noticed that number 3 is when he does use data and statistics, he rattles them off like a pro, right? I mean, he talks about them and he's really confident about them, but we never really see the raw data. And the problem with data and statistics is that we know how they can be manipulated to show one thing or the other. Literally, they can show one thing positive and negative at the same time, depending on how you use it and how you interpret them. So that's a problem. Like, although it's always nice for him to see that he actually includes statistical data, the problem that we now have is that we kind of don't know if we can trust just data being or just conclusions being made of certain data sets. Number 4, a person that wants to educate us on how to live our lives, but has massive personal problems and is always crying is a red flag to me. Sorry, I'm being a bit facetious here, but to be fair, it is true. Like, if somebody is sitting there constantly whining about their woes and crying and I think once he was like in tears about his revelations about Jesus. I can't remember. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, it kind of seems unhinged. So you can't realistically take anything from somebody who's unhinged. Number 5, from what I've seen in some of the things he's said, he believes in God, or at least some sort of higher power. Now, personally, I feel that when you derive any conclusion, but you are also ignorant about proof and logic, you have to question their ability to reason. So for example, if you believe in God, as in you believe in the Bible's God, you can't be taken seriously because there is no logic or proof under the sun which underpins the reality of such a God existing, right? None of it. So that means when you believe in something like that, you've got you obviously have a reasoning issue. You can't be logically and scientifically sound if you believe in a deity. In my opinion, that those two cannot go together. If you are 100% about the scientific method, about science, about logic, all of that falls apart when you dissect the truth of the God as explained in the Bible or the Quran or by the Jews or by any kind of religious group that looks towards a physical deity which governs your life and the world and everything around you. So if you believe in something like that, you got to have. It also means that there is. You can't necessarily be scientifically minded in one thing and be all okay. This is how it is because I followed scientific method. But on the other side, you also believe in God. In my thoughts, those two just can't exist in the same world. Number 6 is probably my most important one, because I think this is where the majority of people get fooled and why they listen to him. A lot of what he says makes very good sense. A lot of what he proposes seems like great advice and would be reasonable, in my opinion, to take on board. And that is the dangerous part, because within a lot of what he says that is good and logical and makes a lot of sense, there's also all this bad stuff in between, which means that because he says all this good stuff, my fear is that people also take on board the bad stuff. So the way I kind of phrased it was, and that is dangerous because within a lot of what is good, there's also very bad stuff which goes against progress. It feels a bit like a con, like sprinkling some truth to sell the lies. So that is just my opinion. Thank you very much for listening.